Yeah, it's awesome to chat with you, man. How is
Yeah,
the
nice to meet you, Sam.
how's the first couple of shows been on the tour so far?
It's been a journey already. I feel like we've been on tour for the last 7 years. It's amazing. It's like dog years when you're on tour in a lot of ways. But yeah, we just came from Buffalo and Detroit over this past weekend. So it was our first time playing down in the US since prior to the pandemic, actually.
Wow.
Um, so that was great to reconnect with friends and fans down there, and just to we have to play two new records. We haven't toured either of the last couple of records. So there's a there's a lot that goes into every show these days, and it kind of makes you, I guess, appreciate the lost time, but also yeah, have to dig deep to make sure that you're giving, I guess, the kind of show that that you want to give.
100%. I was thinking about it because I saw you guys right before the pandemic started. You guys played it up in
Mhm.
Edmonton.
Mhm.
And you haven't fully toured. You've played some like, shows here or there. You played like I think Oxford Stomp here in Calgary. How's it
Yeah.
been getting back into the tour mode?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it's very different than going and playing festivals. And as much as it's been great to be able to sort of reconnect again with the whole act of performance and playing shows after that unwanted hiatus, there is a there is a fundamental difference between doing it that way and going and playing every night. And again, having to sort of um, I guess dig into the vaults and find what part of your catalog you want to present to people, because it is an opportunity that you don't have when you're playing a festival. A festival is like an hour slot, maybe an
Yeah.
hour and 15. You kind of gotta, give the people what they came
You're
for, but
busting
it's
out
really
the
hard to,
hits.
yeah, busting out the hits, exactly. But it's hard to give a complete picture. Whereas a tour, and that's kind of the weight that you feel in a lot of ways. It's like, here's your chance to make a real statement in terms of the music that you choose to play for people every night and how you play it. So reconnecting with that mode, even if it's been the way we've, lived for so many years, has been, yeah, it's eye-opening to say the least.
We're stoked to see the show come through Calgary. And I was gonna ask because it's a February 29th show.
Mhm.
It's on a leap year. Have you ever played a show on a leap year day?
We're gonna have to dig into the archives to see if this has ever happened before.
It's you only have one shot every 4 years, and then you got to be doing a February tour.
Man,
So
I kind of feel like this maybe have never happened before, which at this point, anytime anything is a first,
yeah,
it's a big deal for us. So anything that we have never done before, we're like, you see, we still got places to go.
that's going to be an interesting date because I don't know if I don't know if I've ever been to a show personally on a leap year day either. Like it just doesn't happen.
I don't even know if that day exists in a cosmic sense. So who knows what's gonna happen?
That date is an enigma.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of this. You've just brought like a very serious matter to my attention here. I don't know why I didn't put that one together, but
The people on Setlist FM are going to be like, why is this show so much different from all the other ones? It's because it's a leap year
exa
day show.
exactly. Yeah, there's like a portal's gonna open and like pull us into another dimension if we're not careful.
You've got the new record out, The Adventures of Ben Blank, and of course, you guys had the other one that you guys put out in 2020. Ben Blank is a little different sonically than maybe I'd heard from you guys in the past. When you went in
Mhm.
for those sessions, was that something that was like intentional, or was it something that just kind of came out of those sessions after not recording for a
I
little
mean,
bit?
it's probably a combination of the two. There was definitely there's always some kind of intent behind uh, the direction that a record goes, moves towards. And that for sure that's captured in the studio and in how you record it,
Yeah,
but it's also ingrained in the songs themselves. And this sort of idea of this cosmic cowboy voyager, there's a musical sort of template that's going to complement that in a lot of ways. So I was kind of looking to, I love the term galactic country, which I can't remember who coined the phrase. I think it might have even, I'm not sure if it was Casey Musgraves who, she's just a great songwriter, and I love the way her records sound too. And Graham Parsons, back in the day, and Flying Burrito Brothers and things like that. And
yeah.
I just kind of saw that as the way to capture the spirit of what these songs were about. But then in the studio, you get in there and a whole bunch of unexpected things happen because as much as you try to stick to the script, it's just not how it works. So
It's all the boys in the room. Yeah, you know.
yeah, it's chaos.
No, it was a really interesting sound, and even like when I heard Afterlife, I just thought sonically this is a really cool evolution.
Mhm.
It wasn't something I was expecting, so it was awesome. How's the reception on the new songs been when you mix them in on the playlists live?
Yeah, again, that's the sort of challenge every night is to give the new songs their time in the spotlight. First of all, they're not new songs for very long. So you have this very,
Yeah,
you have a very limited opportunity to let them shine in a way. And every record that we've ever sort of made and toured we've always leaned pretty heavily on the new songs. And yeah, sometimes it can feel like you're sort of doling out medicine to to the audience and a lot of times, but this record seems to sort of slide in and almost bridge a lot of the sort of different eras that the band has gone through on a musical level. So, like I said, we've got two new records. The last record we didn't tour, so we also have to give that. Otherwise, it's going to get jealous. We have to give those songs their time as well. And but that's the thing. You don't want your set to feel like it's all these sort of weird, jagged tangents, you've got
yeah,
to kind of make the whole thing feel like a cohesive journey. At least that's what I wanted. That's what I'm trying to do. So in coming up with the set list every night, it's a way to paint a picture that sort of, yeah, takes you from the beginning where we started, but also very much shines a light on how we feel about music today,
yeah.
because that is the most important thing to me.
A good set list is an art. You know,
Yeah.
and I was curious, like when you go to build a set list, is it the same every night, or do you try and mix it up based on how you're feeling, like day of the show?
Yeah, I've been a chronic set list mixer upper, much to the dismay of my bandmates and the crew, the lighting guy, because it's everybody has to adapt all of a sudden to this new show. But I just had this kind of almost like allergic reaction to playing the same. I mean, oftentimes it's the same songs, but changing the order completely changes the spirit of a show.
100%.
So yeah, this one is no exception. We are trying to build a bit more of a consistent storyline. And then you have what we call audibles in there, where it's like, okay, this one's out tonight. You're riding the pine, and now we bring in a new ringer kind of thing. So we're trying out a bit of a different thing, but all in the name of giving Ben Blank his time in the sun.
So I had to ask about the Ben Blank name because
Mhm.
I read a little bit about the Tom Power interview, talking about Chris Gaines and the idea that you could make like a Ben Blank esque character. Had that been something you'd been looking at for a few years? Just
Yeah,
playing around
yeah.
with the character there?
Playing with or even a sort of what they call a nom de plume, like where you don't really know who the author is, and
Yeah.
it's just sort of. And I thought about putting out a record as Ben Blank and just sort of making music and releasing it and just not having people know that it was coming from me specifically. And uh, part of that was like a scientific interest. Like, well, would that music be listened to differently? Would it
Yeah.
actually be interpreted differently? Would it be given sort of a different branding in a lot of ways if it came from this unknown quantity? Like, how much does my history, my past, have to do with what people hear and how they feel about what I write in terms of music? And yeah, so it was just sort of this idea of like an experimental. And then I was like, I don't have time for experimentation, and I don't write enough songs to sort of just toss them up to this experimental idea. So I decided to bring it into the band's fold, and we just sort of, yeah, let the idea just run with itself. But it's still about the same thing. It's still about the idea that you can always reinvent yourself, or
Yeah.
at least wipe the slate clean. And as I guess, I don't want to say it, I don't want to age myself, but as you get older, you sort of you're dragging more of your past along with you every step of the way. And you don't want I'm not saying that in the sense that it feels like you got two, lead weights around your ankles, but it's a nice thought that you can loosen those ties a little bit. And when you do loosen those ties, does that open up the future
Yeah.
in terms of being able to see it through a different lens? And this character for me became very much about that, opening up that opportunity to just see everything from a different angle.
And it's interesting, you say like a scientific experiment on that because, Dallas Green went through a similar thing when he first put out City and Color tunes, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you get this guy who plays in this badass rock band, Alexis on Fire, coming out with acoustic tunes, right?
Yeah.
It,
I mean, that was we were all, I remember when that first single came out and first of all just hearing that voice coming through and knowing too, like having watched Alexis on Fire prior to that, but knowing that there's this you can have different spirits in the same person in terms of how you connect with music. And I just I always want to feel free to, yeah, just to embrace that idea of freedom of, in creativity. And sometimes it can be hard when you're sort of, I don't want to say cemented uh into a sort of an identity, but you feel you've got, you're sort of tied down to your, again, whether it's to your past or to your reputation.
yeah.
And it's up to you, how much you want to sort of push back against that. And if you take that to heart, then you have to sort of try to embed it into your songs as well.
What's your backup plan now that you've used Ben Blank for something else? What's your next Chris Gaines esque
Exactly. I
nickname?
don't know, like I've do I have to go experimental jazz, which I know nothing about at this point, or
Just dive in.
just go head first into it. But I mean, I gotta say, it was sort of the idea of an alter ego to me has always been a compelling thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that music has so many different branches, coming off of the tree, that you can kind of choose your own destiny that way if you're willing to go, if you're willing to throw caution to the wind. I guess for me, it's like instead of doing it that way, it's like, how do we push the definition of this band?
Yeah.
Instead of just scrapping it and going, completely whole hog into some other thing, how do we take this band, which has there's an identity, there's a history, uh, and can we sort of challenge the definition of what that is? And
100%.
that's what keeps you wanting to make new records. And as soon as we finished that one, it became, oh yeah, well, okay, so let's go tour this and then get down to what's next. Like when you think of it that way, there's sort of no slowing down on the creative front.
Yeah. When you're out on tour, are you thinking of new songs and kind of getting that creative process started already? Or is it
No.
too burned out from the
Yeah.
tour?
Nothing's happening. It's like a dangerously empty cave. That's what my mind is like.
You're like,
Yeah, there's nothing going. I think it's one of those things where I've stopped trying to do it. I think I used to try to do it a lot more. I'd be like, okay, I've got time to kill on the road. Like I should be trying to write a song or coming up with a riff or coming up with a lyrical idea or something like that. And then I get really frustrated at the fact that nothing was happening. So I stopped sort of beating myself up about that and just realized that perhaps this experience of touring and playing shows, you're accumulating a lot of information every single day,
yeah,
and you can't expect yourself to sort of instantly process it and convert it into music. But it comes through at some point. It's just about being patient enough to, you know,
yeah. It's
wait for the
keeping
right time.
yeah, keeping those ideas, in your brain a little bit and then getting back after the tour and, writing life experiences or those feelings later,
Yeah.
right?
And I think too, like the last thing you want to do is write one song after another about staring out the van window at the lonely highway. No, I just, I want to, I'll take that feeling that it gives you, but I want to direct it towards something else, other ideas.
Yeah, totally. Of course, you guys are coming February 29th to Calgary. We're stoked to see it. Game day in Calgary, tour day. What do you usually get up to around Calgary? It's always interesting. People have those secret little spots in town, that sort of stuff.
Man, I always have breakfast with my aunt who lives in Calgary.
Oh, that's awesome.
We get up early and we usually go to a little, man, we went to a really nice spot. It's called the River Cafe.
Yeah,
That was beautiful.
down in Princess Island
And
Park. Yeah.
made me want to move to Calgary right there and then. But Calgary's like, well, I mean, Alberta's a bit like a second home for me. I've been spending a lot of time out there in Canmore and places like that. So if I can too, I'll sneak off to the mountains on the day before a show,
Yeah.
or sometimes even if I'm feeling really dangerous, I'll go the morning of a show.
Whoa, that's a
Yeah,
quick
yeah.
turnaround.
I know it's quick, Just got to be back for sound check at 3 o'clock. That's all.
You're checking your weather app, seeing if there's any snow in the mountains. Going, I
Absolutely,
don't know.
absolutely, exactly.
That be
So, but yeah, so I do spend a lot of time out there, especially in the summertime when I'm not touring. So it feels a bit like playing in our own backyard these days.
no. We're stoked to have you here for that show on the 29th, man. Thank you for the chat, and yeah, we are so stoked to see you here soon.
Same here, Sam. Good talking to you, man, and looking forward to it. February 29th.
Yeah,
Anything can happen, man.
it's a special show. It's a once in a lifetime thing,
It
right?
could be. It could be a once in a lifetime show. There's so much more pressure now than there was before.
Oh man, we'll see you at the sound check, busting out tunes you haven't played in like 10 years.
Exactly. Speaking languages I didn't know I knew. That's what ha anything on a leap year.
Oh man. Well, thank you for chatting, and yeah, we will see you soon, man. Thanks so much.
Right right on, Sam. Take
Okay,
care, man.
thank you.
Bye.